Being in a fat loss phase doesn't mean you don't have a social life. I put up a video recently on Instagram, and this woman made a comment like, wow, you got such a banging body, but I bet your social life is a total zero right now. Get in, losers, we're going lifting. I'm going to be totally transparent with you on this. When I have done cuts in the past, there have been times where I do totally ghost. And it's not because I wanted to ghost or I needed to ghost. For me, where I was at in the journey with the experience that I had with macros, the experience I had with being more flexible in the way I approached food during a phase like this was definitely, more of a beginner. When I first started tracking macros, it was really hard for me to think I can eat everything, even though I was told you can eat everything. It's just a matter of, tracking it and hitting these numbers for what the goal is. But for me at the time, it just felt easier to choose foods that felt a little bit more familiar. They felt, I don't even know if safe is the right word, but let's stick with familiar. When I did this last cut, so this is the third cut I have done over the last 5 years, it was so much easier for me to eat a variety of foods and partake in different social events. It's not a matter of I'm going to be here and I can't eat anything. It really is a matter of, okay, this is what's going to happen today. So I'm going to be strategic in my approach to things like food, but also hydration and movement and workouts. I think a lot of people think, when you're in a fat loss phase, life just sucks. And it's not that life sucks. It's that if you are unwilling to be strategic, you're going to make life suck. So you kind of have to pick your heart. Do you want the results? Are you willing to go through some moments where you do need some more mental bandwidth to be strategic in your approach? Or is that just too hard for you? And listen, it can be really hard at times. If you're going through something that requires a lot of your emotional bandwidth, it might not be the right time to go into a fat loss phase. If you just, I'm trying to think what they say the most stressful times of life are. I think it's getting married, having a baby, getting divorced, and moving. Like if you are going through any of those things and you're trying to juggle a fat loss phase on top of it, it's going to be really flippin' hard. So there's certain times when you do this and certain times when you don't do it. And I think anybody who is doing it for the first couple of times, if it feels easier for you to not be in so many social environments just so you can control the variables a little bit easier, then I think that's okay. And as you do this more times, you'll realize that, oh no, I can be in this social event. No, I can be here and not feel this pressure to, eat all of the food with everybody else or go for the second glass of wine or have the dessert. It's not to say you can't do these things, but when you go into a fat loss phase, the way you need to approach it is I have this chunk of time where this is the goal. This is one of my top priorities, and I'm going to do it like a motherfucking champ. And you do. And the ways I have approached this is, if I have a holiday party, and I'm in a fat loss phase, I'm going to eat a lot of my protein earlier in the day. I'm going to try to save more of my fats and more of my carbs for the event. So if I do want to have a drink, I can. If I do want to have a meal, I can. Knowing that when you typically go to a holiday party, they're probably not going to be feeding you, chicken breast. So you get those things in, you get those macronutrients in that are probably not going to be at the event, and you just kind of wait till the event to hit the other ones. And yeah, that might be a day where you're not necessarily super full by the end, because typically at something like a holiday party, there's a lot of apps. it's desserts, it's alcohol, and those things tend to be a little bit more calorically dense. Not everything, but definitely plenty. So you just have to be strategic about the approach. And this last one that I did really well with that. It's not super easy and breezy, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily the hardest thing in the world. You just have to plan for it. So when that happens, if it's an event like that, I make sure I get all of the water that I need for the day, throughout the day. And maybe I'm planning to drink a few glasses of water at the event so that I know, hey, I'm going to need to have this cup in my hand. And no, we're not going to swap it out for alcohol. We're going to stick to the water. Or if you're somebody who feels better having like a diet soda, I'm always pro diet soda. People are always going to be like, oh my gosh, soda. I think if a diet soda helps you to make it through your fat loss phase, there's nothing wrong with that. And if I'm going to go to an event like that, I might work out that day. I might not work out that day. Sometimes I find that when you are in a fat loss phase, if you have a workout where you are like really pushing it, there's a better chance that you are going to be hungrier that day. So if I know I'm going to go to an event, I might actually take that as a rest day, knowing that I'm not going to be able to necessarily eat the things that I would normally get to eat throughout the day. And that's just, an approach that I have found to be helpful for me. But what I have never done, and the times that I have successfully completed a fat loss phase with, support from a registered dietitian like Hillary Irvin, has been not eating anything up until the holiday, the night out, whatever it is. And I used to do that a lot before I started working with the dietitian. I thought, okay, I'm just going to like save all of my calories and then I'll eat whatever I want. And that would not be the way to go about it. And I would always really feel like shit doing that, because then I would hop up on the scale and you see all of the water weight that you were retaining. And it could just there were times it just like set me off thinking, okay, well now I guess I'm not going to eat the next day. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to do a double workout. And that's not it. The amount of calories you have to consume to actually gain a pound of fat is a lot. To gain 1 pound of fat, you need to eat approximately 3,500 calories above your maintenance level. I guarantee even if you go ham at the holiday dinner or the night out, whatever you're seeing on the scale the next day, it's not fat, it's water, but it can be a mental mind fuck if that's what you do. So I don't do that. I plan strategically. I get my water. If I am going to have alcohol, I limit it. Typically, if I'm in a fat loss phase, I'm not drinking. And the reason I'm not drinking during a fat loss phase is really because it's empty calories. If a glass of red wine, I want to say a glass of red wine is about 150 calories, and I'm already in a calorie deficit, I would prefer to have 150 calories of something that is going to keep me full. When you are working with macros, regardless of the phase that you're in, you can have a lot of fun with your food. Your food does get a little bit more limited when you are in a cut. And yeah, it's not the funnest time of your life, but you do it because you have a desired goal and you're doing it for the short term, a few months. People who are just like, you know what, I'm going to have the wine, I'm going to have the cake, I'll just stay in the fat loss phase longer. Your results are not going to be as good as people who are dedicated to doing it for a chunk of time and then getting out of the fucking fire. They're not. Most people who set this up as this is my dedicated time, this is my number one priority, they get much better results than people who are just like kind of in, kind of out. And if that's who you have been up until this point and you still don't have the results that you want, maybe it's time to try a different approach. When you constantly do the same thing over and over again, like a hamster on a wheel, that is the definition of insanity. You're doing this thing nonstop, expecting a different result, and the result isn't coming. Why do you think that is? It's because of your approach, most likely. Could there be other stuff? Sure. But for the most part, it's because of the way you've been approaching it. So if you switch the approach, most likely you will see a different outcome. And you owe it to yourself to try that. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? If you are somebody who is constantly in social situations, maybe you have a job where you have to take people out a lot, or maybe you travel a lot and it's just not possible for you to pack a cooler and bring your food with you everywhere you go. There's other stuff that you can do to be strategic. It takes the planning. Something that I do when I go away, I try to plan this stuff based on my year. I'm not somebody who travels a tremendous amount, but I know if I'm going to go on vacation, I don't want to track anything. I really want to enjoy it. I try to get on vacation at least once a year for about a week. That is my time to not track anything. I try to get protein. I make sure I'm hydrated. I will definitely have alcohol when I'm on vacation. But then if there's other trips that happen throughout the year, maybe they're work related, maybe it's something quick here or there, I will 1,000% be more intentional about my food choices, because it's one of those things where the more on top of it you are, the more concrete the results are going to be. But when you keep throwing, an off day here, an off day there, again and again, it adds up. It's the same way when we talk about how, one cheeseburger isn't going to make you fat, one salad isn't going to make you skinny. But if we start throwing enough of these things in, it is going to change the result for better or for worse, depending on what your goal is. So when I think about travel or social situations in general, I give myself moments where it's like, we're going to live our best life. My birthday, I live my best life. But there's other times where that's just not my approach. If it's, my friend's sister-in-law's birthday and everybody's having alcohol, am I going to have alcohol? Probably not. If I'm invited to one of Tim's work dinners, am I going to order dessert? Probably not. It's a matter of just kind of like picking these things. And it's not to say you can't have these things. It's just a matter of having a strategic approach. When I travel, I 1,000% look at the menu beforehand. I understand what are the things I'm going to be eating throughout the day, so I know, I'm going to go out for dinner. This is what I'm missing in my macro split so far today, so this is the kind of stuff I'm going to go after. And being in 2025, it's actually really easy to do this stuff. You can see a menu anywhere. And I don't know about you, I know that there's some people who are like very picky about where are we going to go to eat. I always find myself in groups with people where everyone's like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? We can go here. You want to go there? Like, for the most part, it's like if you're in a flexible group of people and there is a need that you have, just voice it. Just voice it. And if you happen to be in a situation, I was in a situation recently where there was a place everybody wanted to eat. I really did not want to eat there, but I saw the menu. I got to see the menu in advance, and I just planned the rest of my day around that. And I get how for some people they would be like, oh my gosh, how could you do that? That sounds so extreme. But listen, that's what it takes to have the body that I have created. It's being a little bit more strategic. It's not about saying, no, I'm not going to go hang out with the group. I'm going to be with the group, but I am going to take an extra step or two that maybe other people aren't taking so that I am in alignment with the goals that I have for myself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you're willing to put in the work to create a body that has low body fat and definition, I mean, even if that's not your specific goal, but like you've taken time to accomplish whatever it is you have accomplished, you're not just going to throw it away because everybody wants to go eat at one restaurant and throw back 5 cocktails. What the fuck? And listen, if you do, there might be some mental health that you need to tap into. And what do I mean by that? Because this has been me. I have been in situations where I work really hard to attain some type of goal with my body. And then you're in a situation where you feel kind of peer pressured to eat. I'm going to use family as the example. So my dad, I love him. He is such a pusher with food. And it's hysterical because he'll be like, Hey, do you want another glass of this whiskey? Hey, do you want another glass of wine? Hey, can I give you another serving of this? And I'm just like, I'm fine, Dad. I don't need more. I'm good. And he's like, are you sure? Are you sure? He'll take my glass and just fill it. And I know it's coming from like a kind place, but then I'll be like, well, are you going to drink with me? No. And I'm just like, okay, well, I wouldn't choose to do this on my own, and I definitely don't want to do it if I don't have a buddy. So can you just back off? And I've had to work on saying no and making it really clear that this is not helping. This is kind of hurting. And if you are somebody who feels like I just can't say no to my family because I don't know how to say no to my family, or they're just not hearing me, then, it might be worth working on some strategies and tactics to help yourself in those situations. For me, explaining to my dad, I really appreciate you, caring for me in this way, but this is just not in alignment with my goals. I said I was going to have 2 drinks. I don't need a third drink. I don't want a third drink. When you continue to push this at me, it makes me feel like you're not hearing me. Can you please just stop when I ask you to stop? And I think sometimes that can be, weird, especially if, it's the first time you're saying this to someone. But I do believe family, friends, people who care about you, if they've been caring through pushing food and you explain to them why this doesn't feel good, it might come across, kind of awkward for them at first. But again, it's not about saying anybody is, doing something wrong. It's just you standing up for you and setting the boundary so that you are able to stay in alignment with your goals. Can you relate to that? Do you have anybody in your life who shows you love by pushing food your way? It's a thing. And I think in certain cultures, it's an even bigger thing. And it can be really hard to say no. And that could be, being in a social situation with family or with friends. And sometimes what you have to do is ask yourself the question, what matters more? Eating this food so that my dad feels good about sending his love to me in this particular way, or picking myself and choosing to stay in alignment with my goals because my goals matter. And however dad responds to my comment is something that dad needs to deal with. It's not mine to hold. It's not mine to worry about. I need to take care of me. What matters more? You are the altar, not the sacrifice. You matter. Your goals matter. When you make that comment to dad or mom or grandma or sister, whoever, be kind. Explain what's going on so they're not just totally caught off guard. But it is okay to tell people no because it's not serving what you've worked really hard for or what you're working towards. It's actually derailing you. It's not to say you can't, be involved in these social events where food is necessarily being pushed and being shown as a form of love. Because I believe that too. I think food is fuel, and I think food is memories and love. And there's a time and a place. But if this is what's happening every week, every weekend, it's going to be really hard for you to get your results or maintain your results. So what you need to do in that case is remind yourself that you got to stand up for you. You got to stand up for that future version of yourself that you're trying to meet. You got to stand up for that younger version of you who has been working towards something but hasn't been able to get there yet because they haven't had that person standing up for them. You got to stand up for you. Past, present, future, it's on you. And you can do it. At the end of the day, it's not about avoiding social situations. It is about strategy. There is some picking and choosing. And your goals matter. So stand up. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Dangerous Women podcast. Make sure to leave us a rating and review, and I hope you listen to the next one. Make sure to follow us so you never miss the next one.